live. This is sort of a test of, I'm going to start doing like live streaming, probably, hopefully. And this is sort of a test of my webcam. I don't know how long I'm going to be live streaming tonight. Whoa, yeah. I don't have anything to talk about really. I went to MythCon. That was fun. Hey everybody. Hi. Now you know why I don't live stream. I'm not comfortable speaking off the cuff. Like, I hate not having a script. Tell us about MythCon. Well, I'm gonna be doing like other like live stream stuff. Like I'm doing something tomorrow with on Tim Blake's channel. Do you guys know Demotivator Opinion? I'm gonna be on his channel tomorrow night, and then probably with some more people next week. I want to wait until, before saying too much, I want to wait until like some more of the videos of MythCon go up so I can like refresh my memory. Okay. Trying to. It's actually Demotivator Opinion, not Motivator Opinion. Eric Mishima. Slap the bass. Hold on, I'll have to get up and get it. There, I slapped the bass. Sorry, there's hair on my screen. Are you hyped for Super Smash Brothers Ultimate? No, I'm not much of a gamer. Maybe I'll start like a gaming channel and I'll get like super rich and popular like PewDiePie. Where'd you go, chat? Oh, there we go. You hate Shapiro because you're jealous of his intelligence. Oh, I feel so called out. I'm also jealous of his good looks, and I'm super jealous that his wife is a doctor. Do you do debates? I haven't done debates yet. Like, I don't even like speaking off the cuff on live streams. It makes me nervous. So I would just be like a nervous mess if I were to debate live. More likes for this video, you communists. Yes. Well, I mean, you'd think communists would be more generous with distributing the likes. Can you talk a little bit about your personal I suppose it's supposed to be epistemology. I guess ultimately I'm a pragmatist, but I find that the methods of pragmatism lead me sort of to post-positivism, which is sort of, well, I'm still reading about it, really. I don't want to misrepresent it, but it seems to be like halfway between positivism and postmodernism, which makes the most sense to me. Greetings from Spain. Hola. I don't speak Spanish yet. I've been studying German since I was like 12, and I took a couple years of Russian in college. Are you still theological non-cognitivist? Yeah. Nobody's given me a definition of God that makes any sense to me yet. So yeah, I'm still theological non-cognitivist. What are your top 3 favorite books? Well, my favorite novel is Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. My favorite non-fiction book is probably 17 Traditions by Ralph Nader. You are a pretty fast reader. Yeah. The trick is audiobooks. There are lots of like apps where you can get audiobooks where you can listen to them at like double and triple speed. And usually, if it's a book I want to get like a lot of information from, I will listen to the audiobook while I read along with the actual book, and I'll like make notes in it and stuff like that. You know, I've never read Guns, Germs, and Steel. I saw the documentary. That was pretty cool. What do you think about antinatalism? I don't know. I mean, I like people, so I guess I'm not an antinatalist. Has anyone responded to one of your videos that has changed my mind? Um, Not really changed my mind, but I did a video on quantum mind a few years ago. The quantum mind hypothesis that was filled with information that after a while became outdated, so I unlisted it. Didn't really change my mind, but hey, pig, nothing's working out the way I planned. See if Dillahunty will stream with me. That might be interesting. He's a cool fella. I'd like to talk to him. Oh, one thing I will say about MythCon is that I got to meet lots of like super cool. Oh, I'll tell you about how I met Vadim, creationist cat. I ran into Michael Rowlands and Chrisiosity, and they were really nice. And I asked them, "Oh, is Vadim here?" And they said, "Yeah, he's standing right behind you." And Vadim was talking to some of the MythCon organizers, I think. And I interrupted his conversation, and I was like, "Oh my God, Vadim, Vadim, Vadim!" And he was like, "Oh, hey, man." He was very nice about it, though. But like later on, I realized that I just completely interrupted this conversation that he was having with the MythCon organizers, and I feel guilty about it. What is it that you don't like from Lawrence Krauss? You know, I haven't read much of his stuff, so I can't really speak to his ideas. But you know, I mean, I watch Christina Rad's video about Lawrence Krauss. That's some creepy shit. Um, when believers use quantum physics, I always get stuck because I have no idea about that subject. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, let just about everything I know about quantum physics, I know from Sean Carroll. So, and Sean Carroll has done videos where he counteracts some of the quantum nonsense that they get into. Um, yeah, I think there's a I forget what channel it's on. It's one of the bigger physics channels that Sean Carroll talks about, like the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics and why it's silly. Sean Carroll is the shit. Sean Carroll is totally the shit. Yeah, my most viewed video is that debate summary I did between Sean Carroll and William Lane Craig. Do you like sports, football, basketball? The only sport I really follow is Olympic archery. Um, Other than that, I don't really know. I like to watch Jeopardy, and sometimes I think I'd like to go on Jeopardy, but whenever there's a sports category, I'm like, okay, I would lose this episode if I were on it. What are your thoughts about anti-theism? I'm not an anti-theist. Of course, I'm very trepidatious about religion in general, but uh, I mean, most religious people are pretty. Most religious people like don't bother me personally. Most of the time, they keep it to themselves, and even when they don't keep it to themselves, they're not that pushy about it. So, in general, I would like to be able to coexist with religious people. I don't want to eradicate religion. I don't have much of an interest in that. In fact, sometimes people will message me and be like, "Oh, you made me an atheist," and my first instinct is to say, "Oh, I'm sorry." that's not really my goal. I don't try to make people atheist. Um, uh, I try to defend atheists if people make anti-atheist arguments, or they say you're dumb if you're an atheist or whatever. I will uh, try to speak back to that, but I don't try to convert anybody. It's not my goal to make a Christian not Christian or anything like that. Did you see the recent Sam Harris JPP discussion? What did it, I don't know. There's so many of those now. I've lost track. I mean, I saw the first one where they talked about like truth. What you should say is you discovered you were an atheist. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I first started calling myself an atheist once I knew that was an option. Um, when I was growing up, nobody made that much of a deal about God. I mean, most of the people I knew believed in God when I was growing up, but uh, make a fuss about it. I was never really around many religious people. So, like, I mean, I get people said there's a God, and I was like, oh, okay. I kind of went along with it, but the moment like I discovered that there's such a thing as not believing in a God, that immediately made more sense to me. What do you think of Buddhism and Jainism? I don't know enough about Jainism to really speak much to that. Um, Buddhism, well, I mean, it depends on what kind of Buddhism we're talking about, because there are varieties of Buddhism that have all kinds of woo mixed up with them. Like there's a lot of mixture with there's a lot of mixture with like Hinduism. Sometimes some varieties of Buddhism take elements from Hinduism, and some kinds of Hinduism, as is my understanding, fully embrace Buddhism. So I mean, those varieties of Buddhism, I obviously don't believe in, but I actually think that some of the things that Sam Harris has said about Buddhism makes some sense, and it's my understanding that there's some scientifically corroborated claims in Buddhism. I don't know, but maybe. Did you meet Sargon at MythCon? I did meet Sargon. He walked past me, and I was like, "Oh, hi, Carl." That was all there was to it, really. How would you reply to the cyclone question? How do you know you're reasoning correctly? Well, I mean, the whole point of reasoning is to be able to make sense to yourself to a certain degree. Um, so, like, if I weren't reasoning correctly, I wouldn't even understand my own thoughts to a certain degree. Reasoning and logic, I think, are rules essentially about what are the limits to what we can make sense of. The law of non-contradiction is a law because we just don't know how to make sense of contradictions. Hold on, I have to let the cat out. A TMM live stream, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm kind of wondering the same thing myself. I have no idea. Damn it, the chat keeps disappearing on me. What is worse, a creationist or a flat earther? Well, creationists have a little bit more political pull than flat earthers, so because of that, I would I'm more afraid of creationists. Do you think our perception of reality could be different from what reality actually is? Yeah. I did a video response to someone who was talking about Stephen Hawking's book, The Grand Design, and he talks about sort of an epistemological model called model-dependent realism, where he infers that there's probably a reality. He's not an idealist. Hawking isn't an idealist, but that we have a choice of which models we can use to describe it, and as long as they're both equally effective, like say you have two models, they're both equally effective and they're both equally parsimonious, it doesn't really, in any practical sense, mean much to say that one is more accurate than the other. What's better, creamy or chunky peanut butter? I don't really like either. But I guess I've never had chunky, so I can't really speak to that. What are your thoughts on theremin trees? Theremin trees, when I first started YouTube, was a huge inspiration to me, and I tried to emulate him in like a lot of ways. When I started really making YouTube videos on a regular basis, it seemed like a lot of the YouTube atheists that were uploading regularly, like Thurman Trees, Prof MTH, Theoretical Bullshit, when they were at that time, they were making fewer and fewer videos and uploading less and less often. But there was still a demand for the kind of videos that they made. So I tried to make the kind of videos that they made, only more often. And I found sort of like a little niche I could fit into. Thoughts on modern polytheistic reconstructionism? Um, I mean, is that like serious? I didn't even hear about that. Is that seriously happening? I've heard about some polytheistic religions in that are indigenous to Northern Europe, like the Wotanists and stuff like that. But I don't think they really take it all that seriously. Thoughts on veganism? I encourage veganism. I'm not a vegan myself, but were you? But I support veganism. Were you raised religious or not? I was not raised religious. I was raised being told that there was a God, and I didn't really question it until somebody said, there probably isn't one. What about Theremin brother Qualia Soup? He's great too. I wish he'd make more videos. He did. I don't know if they're still up. I hope they are. He did a few videos on on substance dualism that are really, really good. What can you say to a Christian who admits that nothing will change my mind? Well, I mean, the question is, are they trying to change your mind? I mean, if they're trying to change your mind, you can say, well, here's what you need to tell me to change my mind. Here's the evidence you need to show me. If they won't change their mind, I mean, are you trying to change their mind? Like, I'm not trying to change Christians' minds. I like to explain to them why I don't believe what they believe, but I don't try to change their minds. Do you believe that conspiracy theorists should be censored? Well, only if they're inciting people to violence or inciting people to harassment. What do you think about Chris Langan and the CTMU? Have you not seen my videos about that? I've done several videos about that. Great scarf, by the way. Yes, this is a great scarf. What do you think of the distributist? Is that the guy that has the G.K. Chesterton avatar? Yeah, I haven't seen any of his videos. The only thing I know about him was that response that ContraPoints did. What do you think of the discussions between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson? I'm only familiar with the first one where they talked about like what is truth. And the chat disappeared on me again. Boss. JP is so full of woo, it's true. Have you seen any common bad arguments or assertions that you would advise atheists to stop making? Well, I've never found the arguments against Jesus's existence convincing. I'm not saying that Jesus existed, but I think that is actually the simplest explanation for the existence of the Gospels. I think I did a video about why I think that Jesus probably existed. And Godless Engineer did a response to that because he doesn't believe that Jesus existed. You once mentioned that you adhered to Thelema. Yeah, not very seriously. I passed through a serious phase after leaving theism Christianity. Do you have any thoughts on how it affected where you stand today? I was into Thelema because I had a relative who was kind of an expert in it, and one of the more, I think I would say he was one of the more influential Thelemites in Canada. And yeah, but I don't know. I mean, once I started like delving into the uh, philosophy of like the supernatural and spirits and whatnot and substance dualism, it just made less and less sense to me. Hi from Cuba. Hola. Oh, my shirt is actually Aussie, and underneath of it, I am wearing a Rammstein t-shirt. And favorite books. Well, I mentioned earlier that my favorite fiction book is Remains of the Day, and my favorite nonfiction book is 17 Traditions by Ralph Nader. What are your thoughts on Peterson on non-religious matters? Well, I disagree with him on Bill C-16. I'd rather, like, I'm not going to be able to speak to that off the cuff very competently, so I might make a video on it so at some point. Ozzy rocks, Rammstein less so. I think they rock equally as much. I've never actually seen Ozzy live. I've seen Rammstein twice. If any of you are Rammstein fans, there was a live DVD that was put out a few years ago called Ball that features Rammstein playing at this old stadium in Nîmes, France. I was at that concert. Ozzy sucks live now. He's too old. Yeah. I think Wikipedia is a really good source of knowledge. I think people are a little too hard on Wikipedia. I agree that you probably shouldn't use it. Like if you're writing a paper for like university, you shouldn't cite it as a source, but really you shouldn't cite any encyclopedia as a source. When it comes to the most trafficked articles, Wikipedia is in many ways, in most cases, more reliable than if you go to say Britannica.com or something like that, because it's going to be more up to date. But when it comes to the less trafficked sources, then like somebody can put some nonsense in there and it'll stay there for months. So you have to be careful with Wikipedia. But it's a good place to start your research. It's a good place to find reliable sources. You shouldn't use it as a source in and of itself, but it's a good place to find sources. Would you be a guest on some podcasts? Um, Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I could do very long ones. Uh, I'm not very good at speaking without a script, to be perfectly honest. The Rammstein video with the wheelchair dude on keyboards is epic. Is that kind of Lust? That was a good one. Do you listen to Sam Harris's podcast, Waking Up? I think wasn't that the one that Jordan Peterson is on all the time? Like I've heard that like one episode of it. What of your body of work are you most proud of? Gosh, I don't know. I'd have to look through it, but off the top of my head, I'm really quite proud of a video I made on Gog and Magog. Uh, these two, I don't even, honestly, I don't remember what argument I made in it, but it's really good about the biblical reference to Gog and Magog and the conspiracy theories that surround it and how George W. Bush believed in Gog and Magog and believed in like biblical prophecy and stuff like that. Most convincing conspiracy theory you've ever heard? Watergate. Um, that was pretty convincing. Russia is Magog now. Well, that's what a lot of people believe. But I mean, when the Bible, when that passage in the Bible was written, Russia, as we currently conceive it, didn't exist. Do you believe time started with the Big Bang? I suspect so. I mean, unless there's a multiverse and it was continued from some previously existing universe. Thoughts on older atheist YouTubers moving on to shitting on social justice? Well, it seems like a lot of them are moving back from that now because they've gotten themselves. Well, they've seen how horrible the opposite side can be. Like Thunderfoot used to make a lot of anti-Anita Sarkeesian videos, and then he saw how some of the more conservative YouTubers, how shitty they can be sometimes, and he's moved a little bit back away from that. What do you think of Thomas Smith? I don't know much about him, really. I've only seen bits and pieces of that back and forth that he had with Sargon. Because they've cashed out on the cash cow. That seems to be a big part of it. How do you manage to make new videos? Well, I'll always make videos as long as there are people saying silly things in the internet, and that's a bottomless well. I do love how you show how bad of an apologist William Lane Craig is. Yeah, and the sad thing is that most of the others are even worse. Like Frank Turek is. I love doing videos about Frank Turek because he's so entertainingly silly and ridiculous. Where do you get your audiobooks from? Well, like I don't want to mention it because a lot of people get paid to mention them, and I don't get paid to mention them. But there's one. There's a couple of apps. One is the big one that everybody uses. You know which one that is. And then there's one called Overdrive that allows you to connect to your local library, and usually local libraries will let you borrow audiobooks, and that's really great. Longer videos has been a nice surprise recently. Yeah, my channel, the number of subscribers I've been getting recently is my channel's been growing a little bit faster over the last couple of months, and I think maybe it's because I've been making longer videos, but I don't know. So I'm gonna try to keep making longer videos. The best was Super Drunk Hitchens destroying Turek at that debate. Yeah, there are a couple of debates between Turek and Hitchens, and my favorite one is the one where Hitchens looks pretty drunk, and Hitchens says that he follows humanism, and Turek says something like, "Oh, do you follow the humanism as conceived by Hitler?" And Hitchens is like, "Are you saying that Hitler was a humanist?" What is evil? Yeah. If you became a theist, how would you rebrand yourself? You know what? If I became a theist, I would still say that apologetics is bad for theism because I honestly think it is. I honestly think that, like, if you come to like a rational conclusion to worship God, then are you really sincerely motivated to do so? Who are your favorite philosophers? David Hume. Comes first off the top of my head. I really like David Hume. Been reading a lot of Kripke lately. Would you munder a person? No, that's evil. That's wrong. It's wrong to munder a person. Dennett? Oh yeah, Dennett. His book Consciousness Explained is really good. Do you know of Tyler Powers? I don't. Do you wish Venom Fang X was still making content on his channel for you to respond to? You know what? At this point, I don't know if I'd even bother anymore. You've done videos surrounding gay marriage previously. Have you ever considered discussing gender and sex, or something you would not want to touch? Well, I made a video about like how many sexes there are and how we should count them, because I think the physiology of sex is more than just chromosomes. It's more than just genes, and we have a choice of how we want to categorize and count them. It just depends, I guess, on what you're counting them for. The most useful way to do so. Which is worse, radical left or radical right? Well, I mean, the part of the radical left that are like radical pacifist leftists, by definition, aren't going to hurt anybody. So I prefer them, I guess. What's your opinion on Destiny? I like Destiny. Do you smoke weed, dude? I'll leave you to speculate. Sorry about like scratching my ear grossly. Oops, meant Miles Power. You know, I was thinking you meant Miles Power. I like Miles Power. Do you believe in objective or subjective morality? Subjective. Opinion on moral constructivism. I'm not sure I've heard of that. Have you gone to university? Yep. I first started university in 1999 because I'm that old. And at the time, I was studying Russian and Eurasian studies. Took a few years of Russian. Then I dropped out for a little while, went back and finished up. I did a political science degree. And after I finished my political science degree, I went back for another couple of years to add a philosophy honors to my degree. So I don't know if that really counts as two bachelor's degrees. It's really a bachelor's degree with two completed majors. Say something in Russian. Я не знаю, что сказать. Ты это можешь читать немного? Scratching your ears, that's what weed smokers do. Essence precedes existence, or existence precedes essence. I think existence precedes essence. You know, I think Jean-Paul Sartre says a lot of kind of mystical woo-woo things, especially about nothingness, but I agree with the existentialists that existence precedes essence. Спасибо, товарищ. Favorite strangest Christian sect? The Shakers. Would you ever consider running for public office? Well, I mean, every now and then it pops into my head, but like it lasts like 2 seconds because I realize that I can't get past the fucking stained glass ceiling, you know? Thoughts on the inverted Earth model? Is that like the model with like the bowl-shaped Earth, or is that the model that says like the Earth is hollow inside? Is William Lane Craig underestimated by atheist YouTubers, though? Maybe some, but like there are a lot of atheist YouTubers who know exactly what the problems with William Lane Craig's arguments are. I mean, he's not. It's not like there's a shortage of responses, and really good responses to William Lane Craig. Favorite song? My Leather, My Fur, My Nails by Stepdad. Is it true Russian is just English with the R's backwards? No. What do you think of inspiring philosophy? Well, I've done a few videos about inspiring philosophy. Pretty nice guy. I think he makes silly arguments. William Lane Craig has said no evidence can change his mind. I find him dishonest for that. Yeah, I've made a few videos talking about that. Your favorite song in Spanish? I don't know if I know any songs in Spanish. Red Letter Media or Your Movie Sucks. Red Letter Media all the way. When I was in Milwaukee, I was like, man, it would be sweet if I met like Jay Bauman walking down the street. He did say Jesus' bones would falsify it, though. Well, if somebody said to William Lane Craig, these are Jesus' bones, would he really believe that they're Jesus' bones, or would he pray about it and like his would he come away from his prayer session thinking, no, these aren't really Jesus' bones? Do you speak French? Not really. I mean, if you grow up in Canada, you're going to learn a lot of French vocabulary because all of the labels on everything are in English and French. So, like, I can read a French newspaper and understand it, but I can't put a sentence together that makes any sense. What if the Holy Spirit told him they were Jesus' bones? That would be an interesting paradox. Where in Canada are you from unless you don't want to disclose? Yeah, I'd prefer not to disclose. I'll teach you Spanish if you teach me Russian. Oh, this is a generous offer. Do you like anime? No, not really. Bonjour du Québec. Bonjour. Comment allez-vous? What do you think about the simulation argument? I think there are a lot of assumptions that you have to make. It's hard to like really say that we are in a simulation because you have to assume that, well, first of all, we don't even know what consciousness is, I don't think, thoroughly. So I think we have to figure that out before you can figure out whether we even can simulate it. I'm from Saskatchewan. Please come help. I didn't realize that Saskatchewan needed rescuing. I was in Regina a couple of years ago. It was pretty nice there. Nice town. Your French is not bad. My pronunciation is not bad. Do your friends and family know about your channel? Some of them, not many. What do you do all day? Watch YouTube. I actually, the YouTube app for mobile has a little option now that shows you how much like you've watched like that day or that week and the average per day. And I discovered that I watch 5.5 hours of YouTube a day. Do you know the Quebecois swear words? Only tabarnak. Top 3 favorite YouTubers? Well, I like Red Letter Media. I watch all of their videos. I like ContraPoints a lot. Got to meet her at VidCon. She's really nice. And me. I'm number 3. I don't know. Oh, there's a new channel that I wanted to mention. Cuck Philosophy. They did a great video on Jordan Peterson and postmodernism and why he gets all of his ideas about postmodernism from a really unreliable source that totally misunderstands it. Is there a video you've made you think everyone should watch? Not really. ContraPoints makes awesome videos. Yes, she does. Thoughts on being a cuck? That's some hot shit. What did you think of MythCon? I have to write down all of my thoughts about MythCon. I have many thoughts about MythCon. Do you still keep in touch with Ollie? I mean, I hung out with him at VidCon. That was fun. watch his videos fairly regularly. Do you like Peter Coffin and more leftist YouTubers? Well, they're always very friendly to me. And I like a lot of their videos too. I mean, I love ContraPoints. Who else is good? Cuck Philosophy. David Pakman, Kyle Kulinski. If you count them as leftist, I imagine they'd probably get labeled liberal more often. LeftTube is life. Yeah. 3 Arrows, yes. 3 Arrows is really good. What's up, Shotomites? Brian Tyler, are you the Brian Tyler? The very famous Brian Tyler? Sean, oh, Sean, yeah, Sean and Jen Sean. Yeah, he's great. What video games have you played? It is me. Thank you. That is very kind. Well, when I start, well, hold on. Let me answer the video game question first before I go on to like the celebrity that's in my chat. What video games have you played? I play a lot of City Skylines. It's sort of like SimCity. Other than that, I don't really play a lot of video games. But yeah, Brian Taylor, it is me. Thank you, very kind. Yeah, when I discovered that you followed me, I was like, little starstruck. H Bomber guy is dope. He is dope. Lately, your channel and Cool Hard Logic have been popping into my feed in mass. Well, that's good. I mean, I guess that means that the algorithm is favoring me for some reason. I don't know why. Oh, yes, I love City Skylines. Yeah, it is fun. Do you like the Amazing Atheist? I mean, I do. I watch his videos most of the time, and I watched Drunken Peasants fairly regularly, and I still watch it occasionally. I don't know. He's he's kind of a reactionary, and that gets under my skin. But he is entertaining. I'll say that. Do you know Evidence? Yes, he made videos many years ago. I don't think he's made one recently, but he did very, very good videos. Would you disclose your thoughts on veganism? Yeah, like people have asked me that a couple of times. Veganism is good. It's a good thing. You should be vegan if you can. I'm not vegan, but I've been trying to figure out, well, what kind of diet can I come up with to be vegan? What do you think of Justin Trudeau? I voted for the Liberal Party for one reason only, and that is to get weed legalized, and that happened. So I'm not disappointed. But he made a lot of promises that seemed like they were kind of pie in the sky when he made them. So I wasn't that disappointed when he fell through on them. But he said that he would switch to proportional representation, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. But that'd be good if it did. Oh, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he also said that we would switch to an elected Senate, which I think would be a good idea. Right now, we have our Senate. We don't vote for them; they're appointed, like the British House of Lords. And I think it's silly that they get to say, or they get to weigh in on what our laws are. What theistic argument do you think is the strongest or weakest? Well, because that they're arguing for something that I think is completely incoherent. It's hard to really rank them. But I think the arguments that say that it's okay to believe in a God if you want to, and well, I think William James made the argument that as long as it's at your own risk, it's within your epistemic rights, and I agree with that. What are your favorite obscure philosophers? I don't know how obscure the Churchlands are. Like Patricia Churchland and her husband, I can't remember his name. They're pretty good. Favorite comedians? Stephen Colbert. He's pretty good. Do you miss inspiring philosophy? Well, he didn't go anywhere. He's still making videos. Can we base objective morality on reason alone? Well, as David Hume says, reason can and should and only can ever be a slave to the passions. Opinion on Jimmy Dore. I think Jimmy Dore's a very silly person, but um, sometimes he's worth listening to. What's your go-to fast food order? Does sushi count? I like the veggie sushi, like especially cucumber rolls. Those are great. Are you hyped for safe synthetic meat? I think it's a little too early to either dismiss or be hyped for it. What about Johann and Rats? He's also a very silly person. Uh, yeah, I mean, I've made a few videos about Johann and Rats. He's pretty funny. What is your favorite movie? Spaceballs. Can you do a backflip on a trampoline? I can actually. Wait, are you vegan? I am not. Hmm. Yeah, Spaceballs is like I wanted to say like whenever people ask me what my favorite movie is, I want to say something like really obscure or artsy, but not Spaceballs. Um, it's my favorite. It's my favorite '80s movie. My favorite '90s movie is Big Lebowski. Favorite 2000s movie is Dark Knight. So far, my favorite 2010s movie is um, either Wolf of Wall Street or The Disaster Artist. What are the best books on God arguments in your opinion? I haven't read a whole lot of apologist books. I've read a lot of William Lane Craig's articles and his websites, but like it's hard for me to actually sit through an entire apologetics book. I've read lots of counter apologetics books. How frequently do you read on biblical archaeology? Not very frequently. Like the closest thing to biblical archaeology I read about is Bart Ehrman. Have you ever seen The Shadow? Yes, I liked that movie when it came out, and then like a few years ago, I tried to watch it again, and I was like, Is Emilia Clarke your favorite celebrity crush? No, I like her, but no. Favorite celebrity crush? Well, when I was a kid. Oh, when I was a kid, I saw Transylvania. Sorry, not yeah. Wait, yeah. Wait, is it Transylvania six? No, Pennsylvania 65000 with Jeff Goldblum and uh now I can't even remember her name. Gina Davis. And I used to pretend that Gina Davis was my girlfriend. This was when I was like 8 years old or 10 years old or something like that. What about Life of Brian? That's a good movie. If given the chance, would you be an astronaut? I'm not. Like, if somebody came to me and said, "You're going to be an astronaut," I'd be like, there are probably better people you could send into space. Like, I wouldn't, I'm not medically fit for service for the military, so are you against male circumcision? No, I'm in favor of voluntary male circumcision once you are of age to volunteer for it. Thoughts on moral realism? I don't believe in it. Would you be an Inuit? Don't you have to be born an Inuit? Would you go parachuting? Sure. Why don't you notice me, senpai? Well, hello. Now that I'm a senpai, I try never to notice anybody. Skydiving is fun. I'll take your word for it. I bet it is. Have you read Fesser Five Proofs of God? Is that Ed Feser, you mean? Feser? No, I haven't read. Like, if that's a book, obviously, I haven't read the whole book. I've read some of Feser's stuff, and it's just like some of them, like some of the older Aristotelian arguments that were literally debunked thousands of years ago. What introductory book on philosophy would you recommend? Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy. He makes it very accessible, and he has a good sense of humor. Star Wars or Star Trek? Star Trek. Oh, I don't know if you folks like, or if you're into Star Trek, there is a great uh, uh, YouTube channel that does reviews of Star Trek novels and Star Trek episodes called Pharaoh Hazard. Stargate rules them all, I guess. Which Trek is the best Trek? Hmm. I'm really digging Discovery. Otherwise, probably Next Generation. Favorite ancient Greek philosopher? Diogenes. Not because I agree with him, but because he was kind of a badass. Least favorite philosopher? Philo. The Orville, I like the Orville a lot. Have you ever read Sophie's World? No. DS9 is awesome. DS9 is awesome. Oh, you worked on Star Trek Enterprise. That's cool. Yeah, I quite liked. I liked for Star Trek Enterprise. I liked the pilot a lot, and then the first season, I found the rest of it was just really disappointing. Uh, I scored 2 episodes. Which 2 episodes? Um, uh, yeah, I found the first season, except for the pilot, kind of disappointing. Canamar and Regenerations. Okay. Um, yeah, I found the first 2 seasons kind of disappointing. Third season picked up a little bit. The Zindi plotline I thought was pretty cool. But then the fourth season, Star Trek Enterprise became everything I ever wanted it to be, which is something that went back to sort of the original series era or before and sort of fleshed out a lot of the ideas that were abandoned. Like um, after the Tholian Web, you never saw Tholians again until Enterprise. And I love that they brought back Tholians. I love that they brought back the Gorn. I like that they did a well. This is all actually in the Mirror Universe episode. That was great. Favorite Hitchens quote? Oh gosh, I can't think of any off the top of my head. How long do you typically spend on a video response? That depends on how long the response video is that I'm working on. Like how long the video is. If it's like a 20-minute video, I can usually get through that in about. Well, I guess the most time I've spent on even like the really long debates, the like hour and a half, 2 hour long debates, is 4 hours on writing it. Usually takes me about 4 hours. Do you like the Twilight Zone? Yes, I've often said that I think that Rod Serling is the best sci-fi writer of the 20th century. Favorite KMFDM album? I haven't been keeping up on their newest ones. I guess the one that really got me into KMFDM when I was in high school was the Symbols album. I still really like that one. Well, I mean, that's the name of my channel I got from the song Megalomaniac, which is on the Symbols album. Do you have a favorite historical figure? Can't think of one off the top of my head. Do you have a Netflix subscription? Yeah. Worst argument for God you heard? Gosh. Anything that Heleno Henzo has ever said. Favorite Star Trek series? Like, I think probably TNG. Although, like, I really like Discovery. A weird question. What would you say to a suicidal person? Oh gosh, I really don't know. Um, like there have been people who've approached me who were suicidal who like know me through YouTube, and I just like I feel super guilty like not knowing really how to engage with that. What is your philosophy degree about? Well, the subject of my thesis is whether foundationalism or anti-foundationalism is most effective when arguing with relativists. Would you consider yourself a strident anti-theist? No. What's this live stream about? Are we just asking random questions? Yeah, pretty much. Do you like Doctor Who? I haven't seen many episodes of Doctor Who. Are you a student currently? No. Okay, Romansky really wants to know who the hottest Game of Thrones woman is. I don't know. I like Missandei. She's pretty. Favorite sci-fi novel? Solaris. Do you think Sam Harris is cute? Maybe he was 20 years ago. Wait, how old is he now? We'll say maybe he was when he was 25. Ben Shapiro is the kind of guy that pulls his pants all the way down to take a piss. Early 40s, I think. Yeah, makes sense. Opinion on Gordon Jeterson. I think I've made a few videos about him. Jordan Peterson or Ben Shapiro? you mean like what's that question like really asking me? Like who would I rather? What do you think about Ludwig von Mises? I think Friedrich Hayek's criticisms of him make a lot of sense. Your latest vid takedown of Shapiro was hilarious and on point. Well, thank you. Yeah, Ben Shapiro is kind of a lol cow. He's good for material, and it's extra satisfying doing Ben Shapiro videos because he's so convinced at how brilliant he is, and he spouts absolute nonsense. Logic or armored skeptic? I think Logic makes better videos, but like I know Armored Skeptic personally, so like I mean, if you're asking me what do they like as guys, I don't know. I haven't met Logic, but I prefer Logic's videos. I will say. Rationality rules or cosmic skeptic? That's a tough one. I will. I'll say just marginally rationality rules. Yes, Shapiro has one of the largest gaps between self-perceived intelligence and actual intelligence, and not in his favor. Yeah, yeah, he is quite the example of Dunning-Kruger. Venaloid or Anti-Citizen X? Um, well, Anti-Citizen X just because he makes more videos. Is Sam Harris a serious philosopher? No, he's not any kind of philosopher. He's a neuroscientist. Would you ever stream games on Twitch? Probably not. Theory of justice or anarchy, state, and utopia. Theory of justice. There's some reactions that Nozick has to Rawls that don't make sense to me. Like he'll certainly, like, Nozick will say certain things about Rawls that, like, he did, well, obviously this, and I'm like, what? No, not obviously that. I might do a video about, like, Nozick versus Rawls eventually. He's not a neuroscientist, he's a podcaster with a neuroscience degree he never used. Yeah. Sargon of Akkad or TJ Kirk? Well, I guess TJ. My 17-year-old keeps watching the Twilight Zone episode with Shatner like every other morning. That's not my favorite one. Actually, I can't even really think about it. It's been a long time since I've seen any Twilight Zone, so. Do you have any pets? Yeah, I just let my cat out of the room. Sargon or TJ, bullet or poison? TJ says some things that aren't BS, yeah. Weirdest sexual fetish? You mean that I have, or in general? Have you read Deleuze? No, not yet. What's your cat's name? My cat's name is Dimitri. Do you know who Master Chief is? You mean is that from Halo? Do you know any other languages other than English? I speak German at a B1 level, if you know what that means. I speak a little bit of Russian. I can understand a decent amount of French, but I can't put a sentence together that makes any sense. Are you a Marvel fan? Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the comics, I actually prefer DC comics, but, like, when it comes to the movies, I mean, who prefers the DC movies over the Marvel movies, really? Do you use Duolingo to study languages? Yeah, I've used it to sort of keep my. Obviously, I can't comment on Marvel, of course, Brian. Do you usually Duolingo to study languages? I've used it to keep my German up to snuff. Yes, coffee or tea, both, but I drink coffee way more often. Are you a materialist? I think materialism is tautological, so kind of silly to subscribe to it, I think. Who's your favorite Pokemon? Jigglypuff. What's a good way to learn another language? Get yourself an introductory grammar book. And a dictionary. Well, I mean, there are dictionaries online. And what I like to do to try to build up my knowledge of the languages I know is read newspapers and, keep Google Translate open so you can copy and paste any words that you don't know. Thoughts on Kyle Kulinski? I love Kyle Kulinski. I think he's great. Watch TV in that language without subtitles. I actually recommend watching TV in that language with the subtitles in that language. That's what I do. Like. I sometimes watch actually English shows and movies on Netflix with the German subtitles on, because that's an option for some of the movies and TV shows, and that helps too. How do you react meeting fans? Graciously. I mean, there were a couple of people that I didn't know, but when I went to MythCon, most of the people who recognized me are people I recognized, but there were a couple of people I didn't, and I was like, "Oh, nice meeting you." I try to be friendly. Kyle Kulinski's Pat Robertson or Ted Cruz impression. I don't think I've seen either. I really like Anna Kasparian's Pat Robertson impression. What's your favorite shape of pasta? The shells. I like the shells. I learned English thanks to the angry video game nerd. Wow, you must speak it with a thick New Jersey accent then. Thoughts on Dave Rubin? I think he's fake. Like, I think I don't know if you've ever seen that video that Blair White did talking about how a lot of the conservative YouTubers are faking it for views and for money. I think one of the people she may have had in mind is Dave Rubin. Favorite dessert? Blueberry pie. I bet Steven Crowder too. Thoughts on Alfred North Whitehead? I haven't read him yet. Islam or Christianity, which is worse? Well, I mean, like I've only ever been exposed to, like personally, to toxic Christians, so it's hard for me to escape that perspective. I mean, obviously, the most violent, vituperative Muslims are bad, but like I've never personally met Muslims who have ever been anything but nice to me, so it's hard to think of them as worse than Christians from my personal experience. Thoughts on the problem of apostasy in Islam? Well, it's my understanding that that depends on the interpretation, because I mean there are things in some hadiths that say you should get the death penalty for apostasy, but like the Shiites and the Sunnis have different ideas about which hadiths are genuine, and I forget which one that passage is in. Thoughts on Rogan? I generally like Joe Rogan. I think sometimes he gets taken in by silly ideas. Cats or dogs? I prefer cats. Where did you get the scarf? Well, Brittany Simon used to have a. If you're familiar with Brittany Simon, she used to have an Etsy store, and I bought this from her Etsy store. Favorite season? Autumn, because I get to wear cool scarves. Is Matt Delahunty's argument on morality bizarre? I don't think I've heard it. Thoughts on emergentism? Is that like the theory, like the philosophy of mind theory on emergentism? I don't know that much about it. I can't really speak to it. Is there any Canadian food you'd recommend? Well, always poutine. Can't beat poutine. Like, there's no Canadian food better than poutine, in my opinion. What do you think of Bayesian probability? I don't think I fully understand its application to like. I mean, people use it about like Jesus and the probability of his resurrection, and I'm not sure I understand how well it really applies. But other than that, I mean, if you're trying to calculate um, like a probability of like a vaccine working on a disease or something like that, or the probability of accuracy of a diagnostic test, then you should use Bayes' theory. I go to sleep. It's 3 a.m. Good night, TMM. Good night. Saskatoon has good poutine place. I'll take your word for it. I've spent very little time in Saskatoon. I just sort of drove through it. Where did you learn philosophy? At a university, a couple of universities. Do you like painting? And it hurts my nose. I prefer doing colored pencil stuff, actually. I have a cup full of colored pencils right here. Deepak Chopra or Alex Jones? I just realized that Alex Jones is like bath salts Deepak Chopra. Thoughts on Arif Ahmed? He's pretty awesome. Where do you get your amazing fashion sense from? I don't agree that I have amazing fashion sense. Dawkins or Hitchens? Dawkins, like everything that Dawkins has been saying lately sounds like whining, I find. What do you think Alex Jones made? What do you think made Alex Jones crazy? The Soy Force Plus. Thoughts on Noam Chomsky? I like Noam Chomsky a lot. Speaking of bath salts, which drugs haven't you taken yet? I honestly don't think I've ever taken an aspirin. How many instruments can you play? Well, one, bass. Dawkins should avoid God talk. He sucks at philosophy. Yeah, the when I read the God Delusion, I found that the best parts were the parts where he writes about evolution, and everything else, like when he talks about the philosophy, it's mainly just like sort of hand waving away the simplest versions of arguments for God. There's a lot of jokes about bass players. Yeah, there are even more jokes about drummers. Have you ever read the Communist Manifesto? When I was in college, as all college kids do. Best toppings on a pizza. I don't really care all that much. What really matters to me on pizza is the sauce. Thoughts on Ed Fazer and his five proofs of God. I haven't read like all five proofs of God, but from what I've seen of Ed Fazer, he just does like Aristotelian stuff that has been debunked a long time ago, like Aristotle's argument for like actualities and potentialities. I love your videos. Thank you. I love your comments. Best sauce on pizza. Yeah, I actually don't. I can't really like tomato sauce, obviously, but there are different things you can do with tomato sauce. I don't know how to cook. So, does pineapple belong on pizza? I actually kind of like pineapple on pizza. Do you believe in any conspiracy theories? I believe that Watergate happened. Your videos were the reason I went atheist. Oh, I'm sorry. Aaron Raw. I like Aaron Raw. Thanks for doing this live. You're welcome. Um, the reason why I'm doing this is because like I haven't done live streaming before, and I was worried about my internet connection not being able to handle it. And like I've like so many people invite me on live streams, and I'm like I don't know if I can because my internet connection sucks, and I hate speaking off the cuff, without a script makes me nervous. So Thunderfoot, well, his videos about creationists are pretty good. Favorite American city? Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm a New York guy. Theoretical bullshit. Yeah, he's awesome. Well, I was a dumb idiot, and since I started watching your videos, my reasoning improved a lot better. So thanks. Well, I guess you're welcome for that. Whoa, live stream. Yeah, you should be a ventriloquist. Why is the? Oh, because my mouth doesn't move much. Favorite type of Mountain Dew diet? I know there's like the red and the blue and stuff like that, but like I can't stand to drink anything that has sugar in it. Thoughts on the philosophy of objectivism? I have a lot of thoughts about that and Ayn Rand. I'm gonna do a video about Ayn Rand someday. What's your favorite religion? Thelema. Are drugs even illegal in Canada? Actually, weed becomes legal in 2 weeks, something like that. Thoughts on qualia? I think Daniel Dennett wrote something called quining qualia, in which he said if you define qualia as immaterial, then they don't exist. And Johann and Ratz, I know, took that to mean that Dennett saying that subjective experiences don't occur and that we're philosophical zombies, which is not what. Well, I don't think that's what Dennett meant. If I gave you a kitten, what would you name it? Gary. I destroyed rats. Is that a recent video? Everybody subscribe to the Polymath, by the way. He's quite good. Have you ever thought about doing videos about phaser? Yeah, I mean, I did a video in which I touched on some of the arguments that that he made. If you could have an exotic pet, what would it be? Can you get like really tiny snakes that you can like feed bugs to? That might be neat. Who is your favorite YouTuber? I really like Red Letter Media a lot. Um, I really like ContraPoints. I really like Cuck Philosophy. That's a new channel that I'm really getting into. Thoughts on the digital argument? I don't think I've heard that one. Reincarnation exists. Who or what would you come back as? Hamster, or maybe an eagle. Sprite definitely has less sugar. Well, this does, but well, this is Diet 7-Up. Favorite philosopher, David Hume. For those who like, some of these have answered like a few different times. So like, I apologize to people who have like watched the live stream since it began, and you've heard me say David Hume is my favorite philosopher. All right, I'm getting tired, and my brain is starting to get fuzzy. So before I say anything embarrassing, I'm gonna end the live stream. But this was fun, and yeah, I'll try to do it more often. I should be in some other people's live streams. I'll probably tweet them out. Like I think I'm on one tomorrow and then one next week. So I'll let you know about those. Bye.